Our original concept was completely different to our Plan B 2014. Our original plan was Battle of the Burbs. Battle of the Burbs' main audience was Melbourne's locals and tourists. The aim was to get people to submit content relating to a certain suburb using hashtags or through Facebook, with some ultimate prize for the suburb which contributed the most. We moved away from that idea because we weren't feeling totally enthusiastic about the concept. We switched to Plan B because of the aesthetic really appealed to us, and we had an interest in the rooftop honey project. And the declining bee population is an issue that will affect all of us. Even with our Plan B project, we had to revise and review our actual event a few times. Shortly after beginning our project, we found Rooftop Honey had actually staged a protest swarm really recently. Originally, our plan was to combine raising awareness about declining bee population with the flu season by handing out lemon tea and honey to students and business people in the Melbourne CBD. After researching the feasibility of this event, we found greater restrictions with the OHS and permits. To be able to serve food required quite an expensive permit. Even if we were in RMIT, the permit would be difficult to get. There are also restrictions on handing out pamphlets to people. We of course only had a small budget, and so these weren't options for us. This led to us revising our plan somewhat inspired by the rooftop honey's swarm idea. We changed direction and began to focus more strongly on promoting the issue faced by bees rather than the honey and tea idea. We focused on the idea of a swarm and using flash mob techniques. We believe the use of social media in terms of organizing the event was successful to a degree. We garnered a pretty solid following on Facebook with just under 100 likes on our page. Throughout the several events leading up to our event, we peppered our Facebook with interesting bee facts and updates on the issues regarding the disappearance of bee colonies. We also threw in some funny and quirky posts with bee puns to give a little variety in our posts. In hindsight, Facebook was probably the most successful media platform in the preparation of our event. This is because it was the most accessible to us as we did not fully grasp the ins and outs of Twitter and how to attract the attention of potential followers. I had made a few attempts at hashtagging the current trending topics and spin in some ways to be related to the Plan B page, but it only amassed in a whopping 2 follows. The word limit was also something I needed to get a grasp on. Instagram also made a consistent approach to the event by posting general bee-related photos, notifying followers of the event just days prior. Instagram really stepped up as the main platform for interaction during our event. After having several of our photos taken during the event, we learned that Instagram was by far the most popular social media platform to submit to, having pretty much 95% of the total hashtag Plan B 14 uploads. Facebook and Twitter were also utilized during the event with live photos and feeds being uploaded. While Facebook had several likes and an online following during the day, Twitter pretty much fell on deaf ears. Facebook seems to be the most accessible social media platform for relaying information, as there were no restriction on word count and was flexible in terms of visual content being uploaded, such as photos and videos. Using Instagram was a huge success, and we found that without the Instagram presence, our event may have failed miserably. Twitter was another story, and I can take a pretty heavy hit on this one. It was not as successful as Facebook or Instagram, and we found that we could have done just as well if we didn't include the use of it in the first place. That being said, it is definitely something we want to consider using if another project should arise. We just need to garner a stronger understanding of how it's used and how to go about gathering a bunch of followers. If we were to do anything different other than the parts stated, using programs such as IFTTT, we might have streamlined our posting schedule and maintained a consistent tone of voice of our internet presence, which also leads into the notion of working with co-creators and participatory media. As no social media platform is the same, having different members working in other areas requires a strong amount of communication when posting. Everybody needs to be on the same level when posting something, even if it has to do with something as small as speaking in the same voice or ensuring nothing gets posted too many times. From working with co-creators in participatory media, we learned that the spreading information and garnering attention and likes on an online social media platform was much more different and difficult than we thought. Even though we met some success on Facebook and Tumblr, a further marketing strategy was needed, such as pamphlets and posters pre-event, in order to have a wider exposure to our targeted demographic. A clear goal and strict deadline was essential in achieving our goal. Transparent communication and efficient delegation of tasks greatly helped our group in overcoming our concept redesign twice. Having our group be on the same page and agenda allowed our group to finalize and complete our project with moderate success both in the social and online media participation. Prior to our event, there wasn't a lot of physical preparation, and so lots of our documentation came in the form of inspiration we found online. Some photos of meetings, our Facebook page, and so on. Our Facebook page became our main way of collating information. Each person would put up information, images, and other content they had found for the group to see. We were also running a blog, public Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account. Screenshot of the costumes and social media interaction can be used as evidence, as well as photos on the day of us preparing as well as interacting with a wide variety of people of all age groups. A video documenting the event will also be available after the presentation for the prototype. During the lead up to our event, our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram public pages advertised the location and time of our launch. Being realistic and knowing that the general public were most likely not going to join us in our mob, we recruited a few friends to beef up the numbers slightly. Due to the relatively small amount of people, we turned to other tactics to attract attention. 2 members of the group have small cute dogs that we used to our advantage. We bought 2 little bee costumes so they looked adorable and could act as attention and photo bait. We also invested in a large bee costume that Edward wore that really made us stand out. All other members of the group wore yellow and black and little bee hats for continuity and cohesion. We treated this day as a launch to our platforms to bring awareness to the issue and our social media platforms. We made signs that showed the hashtag Planbee14 and the Twitter handle and pinned them onto the dogs and bee costumes. This way, whenever people took photos of either of these things, the handles and hashtags were clearly visible. On the day, we met at Carlton Gardens. A wide range of people gathered here, and we knew there would be a mix of both locals and tourists. Our little swarm started to attract attention right away. As we were setting up next to the playground, a few parents came over with their kids who wanted to play with the dogs and told us that we caused quite a stir amongst them. We told them that what we were doing, bringing awareness to the decline of the bee population, and that if they wanted to learn more, they could find information on our social media platforms. Although parents and children were not our target demographic, as they are not the main participants in social media, we began our walk around the gardens and into the city. During the walk, we interacted with as many people as possible. Ed played a game of basketball dressed as the bee and took photos with many people we came across. We uploaded photos ourselves to our platforms to gain for the online audience, but also strongly encouraged the public we came across to upload and hashtag their own photos. This was moderately successful, with some people obliging, but by the end of the day, many of the photos uploaded were from our friends who joined us at some point of the day. We were successful in our attempt to attract attention, as we had many people come to us and ask us what we were doing, and often engaged in conversation about the plight of the bees if we saw people within our targeted demographic. We approached them and were more often than not willing to take to photo and listen to our explanation of what we were doing. To encourage people to upload and hashtag photos, we told them about our honey prize pack that the Backyard Honey people have agreed to donate, that we will be awarding at random. This seemed to work, as a couple of people uploaded photos immediately after hearing this. The event lasted for several hours. We walked around the garden slowly and interacted with many people along the way, had our friends come and go, and overall had a good time, making a fool of ourselves and talking to people about bees. What worked really well was our ability to attract attention on the day, with many people learning about bees if they did not know already. Although having a bigger group of people would have meant even more attention, but we were unable to convince our friends to join us. What could have worked better is this translating the attention we did receive into more social media activity. We did have several photos uploaded and a few more likes on the social media pages, but not an overwhelming amount. We are hoping that in the photos taken of the bees and the dogs, the signs with the hashtags and handles are clearly visible so that, if not straight away, when people look back at the photo, they might want to visit the platforms then. After much deliberation and debate, weighing up the pros and cons of every platform available to us, we have decided to use Storify as our main platform for our interactive documentary. Storify can easily integrate the various aspects of social media into one section of the prototype. For example, it is possible to collect all uses of our hashtag Planbee14 across all social media sites like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. into one story. Along with this feature, Storify allows us to easily separate aspects of the prototype into various categories which mimic the process of creating our event, from its beginnings as Battle of the Burbs to the change induced by the systems of Backyard Honey, right up to the final incarnation of our event. The prototype will mainly use basic descriptions and an analysis of the event outcome, using the various aspects of the interactive social media to provide examples and insight into the build based around the event. Along with the text, we will also attempt to incorporate our own photos and videos to help highlight aspects of the actual event itself, which is where YouTube and Vimeo will be incorporated. Although these multiple aspects will each create one story, with multiple stories available from the main page. The audience will be able to view and interact with aspects of the documentary at their own discretion, guided by the common logical order, but given the choice to view the stories in whichever order they decide.